Good evening and welcome everybody. Nice to see you all in. There we go. Good evening and welcome. At the start of today's show, I'm just going to put this up and let everybody know that next week we're live is about springing into growth and how is your garden growing with special guest Robin Gardens. So that's coming up and that's going to be fun. I'm very glad that you are here. I want to give a big shout out and thank you to the replay crew. Sorry, I am really tired. I've had a week and I will talk about that in a minute. But a big shout out to the replay crew. So have your say, leave a comment. I will respond to you. It's always great to hear your thoughts and your comments. I appreciate that very much. And also thank you to everybody who has joined us live today. That's absolutely fantastic, and our community is really important, and the chat is always very lively, so that is absolutely fantastic. If you have any questions tonight, as always, write them in capital letters or start with a capital QQQ. Makes it easy for me to spot. Now, my week, what's been going on with my week? It's been quite a busy week. I'm going to pop up, it's a bit of an early show and tell what I have been up to. So yesterday I was in Taunton, which is about 2 hours from where I live, and this is what I was doing. We've had a bit of a road trip. We're in Somerset, and these are my two little piglets that I've just bought. Now the boy at the back, the larger one, is going to be a breeding boar, and the one at the front is going to be sausages. So we should get those loaded up in a minute and get those home again. Very exciting. So that was my day yesterday. So it was quite a long... Oh, Stella, you've just missed the little piglets. I'll play it again later, maybe. So that was my day yesterday. I had to drive to Taunton. It was 2 hours there, 2 hours back to collect the little piglets and settle them in at home. And this was a little bit later on in their arc, settling in, making a bed. Settled in very well. They've started being a little bit more friendly today. Coming out, sausage and baby. I will need your help, guys, because I do think that the one that's going to be sausages might be called sausage, non-ironically, but I do need a name for the other little boy. Now, before I carry on, I can see there's some people in the comments, so I am going to scroll through and say hi to everybody that's here. So we have Jay Dixon, who is very kindly facilitating for us tonight as well. Thank you very much, Jay, for that. We appreciate it very much. She's been greeting people as they've come in. And Kirsty of Heart's Humble Homestead, who has been a guest on the show, is in. Hi, Kirsty. Nice to see you. We also have, as always, Rob from Rob's Allotment Gardens, although his handle tonight is Rob's Attic, and he's up in Leicester. And we have Food Forest Permaculture. So hi, Howie, nice to see you. And we have Growing with Stella. Hi, Stella. I think that's everybody so far. Oh, no, I knew what person's in. Hi, Debs, nice to see you. We're just looking at the piglets that I collected yesterday. I was just explaining it was a bit of a long journey to go and get them. So I will need help because, Shawnee Grows. Hi, Shawnee, nice to see you in as well, listening from Minnesota in the USA. So we've just been having a quick look at the journey I had when I went to fetch my piglets yesterday. So that was a 4-hour round trip, which isn't too bad. And there they are. So they're two boys. One is going to be a breeding boar. One is going to make lovely sausages. He's not up to breed standards, so I won't be able to keep him. And it's going to be the partner to Ava. Now, Ava is named after Ava Gardner, who was the actress. So I'm thinking maybe a movie name, a male movie name from the silver screen in the same era. So she was 40s through the 50s. She did later acting, but primarily she acted through the 40s and 50s. So if anyone has any suggestion or thoughts, that would be really great. Question from Sarah. How are you deciding who is a breeder and what makes good breed standards? So it's really important with pigs, even the male pigs, that they have what is called a good underline. So you would need to have a look at their tummies. You need to check that they have enough nipples. Ideal is 14, but my boy has 12, which is acceptable, but not perfect. You need to check that they have really nice looking markings, which they both do. For this particular breed, you're looking for a little white splash on the nose there. You're looking for ears that cover the eyes. You're looking for white socks, which he has, and you're looking for a white tip on the tail. I'm just trying to think if I've missed anything. I think that's it. So those are the most important things. The one boy has some strange markings on his back, so he would not meet the breed standard, and his teat line isn't level and even. So we've got some suggestions coming in already for names. We've got the other husbands, Mickey Rooney, Artie Shaw. Oh, bullfighter Louis Miguel. I don't know how to say that surname. So yeah. And why are those markers important? So it's important because those genetics will be passed on to the offspring. So in all big pig breeds, the underline is really important, because if you have a female that doesn't have that nice line of teats, she can't feed her piglets, and therefore or she's restricted on how many piglets she can feed, so she would not be good for breeding stock. And if you weed out those that aren't breeding stock earlier, you get more satisfactory pigs for breeding on in the lineage. It keeps the genetics really strong as well. You don't want them, the breed as a whole, differing and varying too much. If you keep keeping in subpar pigs, eventually you'll end up with not very good breeding stock. We go there. Are you breeding for food or show? I'm breeding to keep the breed alive. It's an endangered species. I actually couldn't find a boar to breed with Ava, so I've travelled quite a long way for a pig. And he won't be ready to breed for another year. But also one of those pigs will be for food. And I don't show the pigs. I'm not against keeping pigs. This is not something that I feel I want to do at the moment. There's a lot of work in getting them ready to handle in the show ring. And a boar is a very large creature. You've seen how big Ava and Kevin are. They're very difficult to manage in the ring. Gosh, it was turning into the pig show. This is just the introduction. And do different pig breeds taste differently? Yes, they do. Yes, they do. So these taste delicious. They are a slightly darker meat, perhaps, than your anemic supermarket pork. They have a darker meat. Also, what they eat changes the flavour of the meat as well. And then different breeds have different characteristics. So something like a Mangalitsa or a Kunekune would have a higher fat ratio, and they're more useful for either lard pigs or as charcuterie, things like that. Different pigs serve different purposes. And Shawnee was asking, how did my female will be, so she should really have been bred already, but I haven't been able to find a mate for her. She will be 2 in August, so she's really late, and I'm hoping that I can keep her in good enough condition, which she really should have been bred before this. Jacob says, I'd wait until I've turned into bacon. And yes, Oxford Stanley and Black, they are native to the UK, originating in Oxfordshire. We have new people in. Hi, Steve. We're just discussing the 2 piglets I bought. Yes, there. Right. That is not all I've been up to this week. I have been a very busy girl. And
you stay in there.
This also happened this week. So these 3 little lambs joined me on Friday. And what happened with these little lambs was the farmer very kindly gave me his leftover milk because these were the last of the bottle lambs. All the other lambs were out in the field with their mums doing well. And they were thriving, and he was happy, and he gave me his spare milk. And off I set on Saturday. Farm stores are not open at weekends rurally. They only trade Monday to Fridays, and not even all the days Monday to Friday in this area. And he had a problem on the Saturday, which I explain here.
I am sat here with the cutest lamb inside my coat. It's a bit hard to film like this. I got a call from a farmer that delivered the lambs yesterday. He had a ewe that had gone over onto its back in the night, and if a sheep spends too long on its back, it will die, and that's what happened. And this little guy has been left as an orphan, little boy. He hadn't had any food, and he hadn't had his mother to look after him all day for at least a few hours. She was all right yesterday evening, but obviously passed away at some point. When the farmer did his rounds today, he found this little one. And it's wrapped in my coat because he was shivering. He's had a bottle of milk, and I might give him some more in a minute, but I'm going to let that settle in. And he's just warming up. He's just stopped shivering, and he's just settling down. But so now 3 have become 4. Yeah.
So that's been my week. It's been a bit hectic, and I had to stay and nurse that lamb till quite late that day because he kept getting cold and shivering. And if a lamb gets really cold, it will succumb very quickly. So he's absolutely fine now. He's skipping around. He's in and out of the shed, and he's catching up with the others. He's notably thinner than the others, but he's getting there. So that's been my week so far. Hectic. The chicks have moved now to the farm as well, so they're also in the shed at the farm. And I am going to need help. I've got 3 boys and a girl sheep, and they all need names as well. So there we go. We've got a pig to name and 4 sheep to name. So any suggestions, put them in the comments. And I am going to, because I have talked way too much, I am going to move on to my main topic, which is about, I thought we'd revisit the chicken topic, or the backyard birds, because last time I had technical issues with the audio. I intend to cover new topics this week, so I'm going to talk about the breeds I would recommend for each of the birds we'll talk about, which are the chickens, the quail, and the ducks, and talk a little bit about health checks and how to keep them healthy. I'm sure Kirsty's here and she'll have plenty to say in the comments about chicken health. Kirsty's also a very good chicken keeper and won awards for her eggs, so she's very qualified to chip in about that. But if there's anything that you wanted, either a recap or a reminder or a question from last time, the topics we covered was what sort of housing requirements they had, what sort of space requirements they had. We talked about the benefits of their specific benefits of each of the birds' eggs, because they have different nutritional value. They have different nutritional qualities and values, and I think think that was pretty much it. So that's what we covered last time. If any of that pops up into your head that, oh, I would like to know that, please ask the question. But the topic I was going to talk about were the breeds and the health checks. So I'm just going to check with the chat very quickly that I haven't missed any questions. Yes, Rob. Pigs are the cleanest animals in the world. Rob has visited the farm and he can attest my pigs do not smell at all. The only time pigs are dirty and smell is if they're kept in factory farms. They don't have the space to go away to go to toilet, but within their space they allocate one little space, and that's their toilet area, and they will not go into that area for anything other than to go to the toilet, and they keep their area very clean. They won't dig where they toilet, they won't feed where they toilet, and they won't sleep or lie where they toilet. They're very, very clean animals. Yes, I have a lot more time in my day feeding animals. Bottle feeding takes a long. Lamb chop. There was a very famous lamb called Lamb Chop. Layla, so coming in, so maybe we'll choose some from the chat later. And I'm confused on where to put chickens. Going to be near pines. How much sun in a day should they have? And I'm guessing no flood zone. The chickens need to be near their people. They're all good questions. And yeah, so with chickens, they like to have a little bit of sunshine in the day. That they should have it's more about daylight rather than sunshine. And they do enjoy the sunshine, but they don't have to have it the whole day. Chickens go off the lay a little more in the winter, and that's a natural cycle. What they're actually doing is recovering and recuperating from the busy laying period in the summer, and they have a molt in the autumn, so they lose their feathers to get their winter coat, and that takes a lot of energy. And then to just replenish their energy and their nutrition levels ready to go into the big laying season in the spring, you can supplement their light so they continue to lay through the winter, but generally those chickens live a shorter life, so it's healthier and more beneficial for the chickens to have that light diminished. So you can supplement their light if you want to, if their housing is quite dark, but I would only do that in daylight hours. So if their coop's quite dark, I would add a light in there for during the day to make it a bit lighter, but then I would switch it off at dusk. Oh, hi, Sean's in. And why did the chicken crossroads always baffled you? I'm sure it has. I don't see a reason why they couldn't go under pine. They're probably not going to enjoy pecking it and eating it. They're probably not going to eat the greenery around it, but I don't see a reason why they couldn't. Actually, the pine needles falling on the ground would help keep the ground a bit fresher. It's got that constant pine needle falling, and their manure would compost those in a lot quicker as well. And I can't remember if there are any more parts to that question. And yes, dry. Chickens do not like to be wet. Once they're wet, they can't keep themselves warm. So not in a flood zone. And no, chickens don't need to be near their people, but it depends what you want from your chickens. You won't. If you want a child-friendly chicken that likes cuddles, then you need to spend time with them. If you are not worried about that and it's utilitarian and you just want the eggs, then you don't need to spend time with them. And you don't have to spend a lot of time with them. I'm probably with my chickens about 10 minutes in the morning and 10 minutes in the evening, just while I change food and water, check for eggs and check them over. And you're probably right, but I've always named all my animals, and then I've also hideously eaten them. Minty, I like that for a name for a lamb. I did wonder about whether to call the girl Rosemary or not, but I'm not sure. And still voting for Layla, sausage and baby. Just checking through the chat. Everybody's saying hi. Yes, they do need access to shade. Sorry, I did say that. So they don't need the sunshine. They do need to have a little shade. If you've got an open area, you can build an artificial shade. They prefer natural shrubbery coverage, but they are quite hard on shrubs. They will strip the lower leaves if they don't have enough shrubbery around them. But mine have, because my land doesn't have a lot of mature shrubbery on it at the moment. We've built sunshades for them with roofs and perches under. And I think your summers get very hot, so they would need shade. Good point, Kirsty. There we go. Right, back to the subject. So, which breed is right for me? So I'm going to assume we're all talking about keeping birds in back gardens. I'm not aware of anyone that has a massive amount of land. I know Shawnee has quite a bit of space. And if you're talking a small space, then you're looking at a bantam breed really, but not all bantams. Oh, hang on. There we go. There we go. Any bantam would do in a smallish yard, but some are calmer and more friendly than others. Some can be quite manic. They're quite small. And if you're going to go for a bantam variety, you do need to acknowledge they're going to lay smaller eggs, smaller chicken, smaller egg. So the bantam types I would recommend for somebody who's going for bantam. Firstly, a Pekin bantam. They are friendly. They are excellent layers. There's a massive variety of colours and they are easily available. And I believe I have prepared. Where are we? Where did that go? There we go. Add it to the stage there. So all of these Pekin bantams, all of these are the colours. And if you can imagine a chicken colour or you've seen a chicken of a particular colour, there's usually a Pekin bantam in that colour also. Let's see if we can become lavender, lemon, blue, buff, mottled partridge. A lot of the more complex names are quite simple. If you're talking about speckled, you're talking about something like this. I don't know if you can see the cursor moving over that. If you're talking about something that is laced, this is actually a picture of double laced. So you can see it's got multiple rings. I love the double laced birds. I don't have any at the moment. Or you can get just a laced which has a single line of colour around. So that is one of the options, is a Pekin. They are calm, they're friendly. If you spend a lot of time with them, they're good cuddlers. They will give you a cuddle. They are brilliant with children. They're happy, friendly. They'll feed out of your hand. They're not too pecky when they take food. Some chickens will feed out of your hand, but you can feel them pecking quite hard. If you've got children, you might not want that. And they are easily available. They are widely available in most countries throughout Europe. I'm pretty certain they're also available in the USA quite readily. And they're a really good, easy option. They're quite robust, so you're not going to struggle keeping a Pekin bantam alive or getting eggs or them being unfriendly. They're just brilliant birds, and I've kept them quite a lot of times. Now, Silky is a completely different kettle of fish. So, sorry, I'm trying to share the screen again to find the Silkies, because these are a really unusual bird. So a bird's feather, everybody knows, if you pull the feathers one way, they all look tatty and frazzled. And then you smooth the feather the other way and become a nice feather shape. that doesn't happen with a silkie. A silkie has what they call non-hooked feathers, which means the little hooks on each of the strands of the feather don't hold the feather together to make the shape. So they look fluffy. They look much more like bunny rabbits, like they've got bunny rabbit fur. Let me see if I can make that picture big. No, I have to go on car to do it. So, oh, go away, pop up. They look like this. They really do look, and they feel really soft and fluffy. They are, because they don't have the hooked feathers, they are not quite as hardy as other breeds. So you wouldn't want them in an exposed site, but if you've got them in your backyard, they are beautiful and funny and interesting. And people get very carried away with silkies. You've got silky bird lovers. They're a smaller bird anyway, so they're not the size of a full-grown chicken. So they wouldn't be as big as my light Sussex or the birds I have on the farm at the moment. But you can also get a Pekin version, which is even smaller. They're really quite tiny. I could hold one in the palm of my hand. And I've had those as well before. And they have the most incredible personalities. Now, their traits, they're daft. They are just daft. They do stupid things. They are friendly. They tend to go broody really often, which is can be a bit. It can either be an advantage or disadvantage. Some people use them to put other hens' eggs under, and they will raise them, and they're really good mothers. If you're just wanting the eggs, it's frustrating because you have to keep chucking out the hen house until they go off being broody, and they go broody very easily. But they are interesting, they're strange, they are friendly, they are unusual. It's always a talking point. There are a massive variety of colours. There's the buff, the blue, the white, the black. They come with a beard, they come without a beard. You can get splash colours. They're just a really lovely, I like them, a really lovely bird, I think. But I don't keep them now, and the only reason I don't keep them is purely because my field is far too exposed and I would be worried about them. Now I'm checking in with the chat to see if there are any questions or I've missed anything. Gosh, there's a lot of chat. Talk about seeds. Sean needs to mark out where the snowdrifts are high and not put the coop there. The other alternative, Shawnee, is to have winter accommodation and summer accommodation. So you could have something like a movable coop to move them around, to utilise them, to put it on a bed that is spent so they can dig it over, take out any weeds, any remaining crop, manure the bed, eat any pests, and then move it onto another bed or onto a patch of long grass that you want eaten down, anything like that. And then in the winter they need slightly more substantial housing. So that's an option, to have more than one place that you keep them. Yes, and Sean bought dahlia tubers, and I was there too, and I bought 6 dahlia tubers that I don't want. No, I do want them. I did need them. That's what I meant to say. Hiya, Carol. It's nice to see you in. Chickens love bantams, yes. Good hens can lay 2 or even 3 eggs a day. It's unusual, but they can. I've had a couple of days where I've got 5 hens in a run, and I've got 7 eggs. Any questions? We're going at Suffolk and Black Rocks, I think that is. They're 2 good breeds. I'm covering a couple more breeds. Yeah. I don't have chickens, but would like to have some in the future. Are egg-laying hens okay for the table, or do you need different variety? Well, you can get what you call dual-purpose birds, which is what I keep, and I tend to, instead of culling the males as soon as I know they're males, I will raise them on until they're meat weight, and then I will put those in the freezer, and then keep on the girls I want and sell on the rest. Yeah, I used to have 50 bantams. Yeah, they are chickens. They're just really small chickens, and they lay smaller eggs, and they're perfect for a backyard. Different coloured eggs breeds from northern cold kind of birds are on my list of demands. Okay, I didn't actually go into egg colour, but I think you're thinking you want something like an Easter egger, something that lays blue eggs, maybe something that lays the more terracotta eggs and the pretty colours. Yeah, beware of the breeds that are flighty. So today I'm primarily talking about 4 breeds that I've kept, and I know 4 breeds that I know are calm and not flighty. In my research, somebody suggested the Australorp, but the Australorp are much more flighty than any other chicken I've kept. So I wouldn't recommend them. Yeah, so you do need to be. And I would say for a small garden, you don't really want a flighty bird, even if you clip its wings. If you've got backyard chickens and you've got a smallish area, you want them to be calm. You don't want them to be flapping against the fence and damaging wings, and you don't want them flapping at you either if they feel cornered. And you do have to handle them sometimes to check their health and things. So, bantams are a smaller version of Rob's answering Stella. Bantams are a smaller version of a large chicken. So quite often chickens will have a bantam version and a full size eggs. So a Cheshire Blue lays blue eggs. I think the breeds, I don't know if that would be available in the States, but yeah. You'd have to check locally, but I know you can get Easter eggers and they lay different colour eggs. Shawnee's been buying books. Duck eggs are tasty. Right, do any of the chicken breeds have better lifespan than others? Technically on paper, no. What you will find, however, if you get a really robust breed, they will just stay healthier for longer. So you're less likely to get chickens die younger through being sick. The Silkies are not as robust. Some of those, I think the oldest I got was 8 or 9 years from a Silkie, whereas you can get 10 plus years out of a good, strong, healthy hen. As they get older, they lay less. I don't know that you want them to go much longer than 10 anyway, because they get a bit old and cronky. Oh, I'm glad you're feeling better, Carol. Slowly. And Darth is saying, oh, hi, Darth. Sorry, I didn't say hi to you when you came in. Mum goes bananas with duck eggs. Duck eggs. I love quail eggs too. And quite right. Kids really grow up smarter. Shawnee goes, I used to work for a bookstore and taking home book friends was a real issue. I worked in a book warehouse once, and any books that were even slightly creased were no good for sale, and they put them on a pallet. We were able to bring home as many books as we wanted. Yeah, and the reason a chicken math is like that is because you get addicted. You just want a couple more, or you want a couple of different ones, or yeah, you just fall in love with them. They didn't feel anything once they're in the freezer. Yeah, probably about as cold as the ones feeling hot in the stew pot. That's very true. Right, it's April Fool's Day today. That's correct. Right, I'm going to go back to my information now. So we're going to move on to a different breed. So the Sussex. Now I have light Sussex, but Sussex come in a range of colours. They are friendly. They will have a cuddle. They are, again, excellent layers. Their most common colours are buff, light and speckled. They're quite easy to come across. And I will share my screen again so you can get an idea of what some of their colours are. There it is. Add that on there. So you can see there, they come in lots of different colours, and again it's quite confusing. They come in spangled and laced and light Sussex. Most of the chickens that come in this colour are classified as Colombian, but for some reason the Sussex they classify it as light. But there are all sorts of colours, but the three most readily available ones are buff, light and speckled. And what can I say about them? They're a dual purpose bird. So these are ones that you could easily eat the males of, or you could eat the females, but that's, you know, the females are more valuable as egg layers. If you are going to process chickens, there are lots of videos out there. That is an emotionally draining thing to do. So if you are thinking you want to do meat birds, do your research, learn how to process them safely and correctly. There are loads of videos out on YouTube. I haven't made any of those videos because YouTube doesn't really like the content. They don't promote that sort of content, but you can find it out there if you look for it. You do need to process them before they're 20 weeks. Between 14 and 16 weeks is ideal. Otherwise, they have to go in the stew pot for a really long time. That's not ideal. I don't like the meat breeds, Cornish cross in particular, because they have to slaughter those at 14 weeks because actually they get so heavy that actually they can't walk anymore, and it's a weird breed that it's like a Frankenstein chicken. It's not healthy. They don't have good lives. They restrict their movement so that the meat is more tender, and I don't like that. But the Sussex are really friendly. They've got lovely characters. They are tough. They are ones that will withstand a windy day, or, you know, if you have a storm, they're the ones that get less spooked and are more calm the next day. They're not stressed out. I haven't put any links in because these are literally all Google searches on images just to show you what these birds look like, rather than there we go, take that down, rather than give you too much information on them. Okay, so Wyandotte. Now, these guys are really friendly. If the light Sussex are friendly, the Wyandottes are equally. They're equally calm. They, again, excellent layers. And there is a huge choice of colours, but they also come in a Pekin version. So you can get a smaller version of these as well. And this is another one. To share a screen just so you can have a look at what they look like. I love the Wyandotte. I've had the laced Wyandottes before, not the double lace, just the lace, the single lacing. And if I can go onto that page, I think I can click. I like that colour one. Just check whether that's come up on StreamYard. So this is lacing, where you can see the band around each feather. They're beautiful, and I can't list the colours. They come in so many colours that if you can think of a colour, they come in that. Take that down for a moment. There we go. I'm going to check the chat very quickly, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about chicken health. What to look out for. Oh, bye Howie. I'm sorry if I missed you and you've already gone. Have a good evening or afternoon. I guess you'd have me in your afternoon, wouldn't you? I want a friendly house chicken, but I'm afraid Puppy would think a Silkie is a bantam or a bantam is a toy. I've had different reactions from my dogs. You never can tell. I had a Cocker Spaniel who's meant to be a hunting dog, and she would look after the chickens for me. My old hatchery at my old house had a whole garage because we had several outbuildings. I had a whole garage that was my hatchery. It was lined with straw bales, and then there was just one heat lamp, and then they'd run around all over the floor, and I would hatch hundreds of birds before all the awful regulations came in. And one day she was being really quiet, and I was wondering what was going on, and I found her. She'd managed to sneak into the hatchery, and she had stolen day-old quail and put them in her bed, and she was just laying there around them. And she looked up at me and she goes, "Look at me, I've been so clever." And these chicks are like the size of, if you think of like the Cadbury chocolate eggs, the Easter ones, they come out of an egg that size, so they've got absolutely tiny, and their legs are so thin you can barely see them. They're not even matchstick thickness. And she picked them up and she brought them up, and she like cuddled up with them, and she hadn't hurt a single one. She was so impressive, but she was very upset when I put them back because it wasn't particularly good for them. Just rebooted, and guess what? Joe came up. Cool. It's nice. I'd love to hear about what to have ready for chicken health. Right, okay. Chicken health it is. Let's go back to for their health, there are several things that you need to make sure you have in the coop. First of all, they do not like to be wet. So they need dry areas, both inside and preferably outside. So it doesn't have to be a massive outside covered area, but it's nice if it's a really rainy day, they can at least get outside and have some food and some fresh air and not get wet through. They are not as affected by cold as many people think they are. I think your temperature, Shawnee, they would be, but around 0 degrees, they don't suffer too much. They will eat more. They don't mind the cold, and I quite often have chickens when I lived in a cold area seem to like going out in the snow. Not deep snow. We don't get so much of that in England, but they would go out in the snow and they quite enjoyed that. That wasn't a problem for them. Strong winds can be, if they are cold winds, they need a bit of protection, an indoor area where they can get out of winds, because a cold constant wind will chill them too much. I think that's that for housing. In the summer they do need a shaded area, as Kirsty was saying earlier. Some chickens are less heat tolerant than others. Something that is where the ocelot come in. They were bred to be in the outback of Australia, where it's very hot and very dry. They are much better at coping with those hot conditions. The other thing that they must have is a dust bath. That's how they keep themselves clean, and that's how they free themselves and keep themselves free of mites. They need 2 different types of grits. So when you go to the poultry store, if you purchase what they call mixed grit, it has what you call non-soluble grit, which is basically small chunks of stone, and they eat that, and that sits in their gizzard, and that grinds their food because they don't have teeth, and that's how they digest their food. The other type of grit is a soluble grit, which is something like oyster shells and things like that. There are a few different things they use, and that is digested and absorbed into the bodies, particularly the females, and that enables them to have a really healthy, strong eggshell. If you don't give them enough soluble grit, you'll have strange, malformed eggs, or they may not have a shell on them. They're not very healthy. It really means your chicken is mineral deficient if you have trouble with your eggshells. They need regular greens. So it's the same. Any factory farm can throw down chicken pellets and they will live, but they won't be as healthy. They like to forage. They like to exhibit their natural behaviour. If they've got to be in, you can give them, I know Kirsty grows wheat in trays and puts trays of wheat in. You can hang a cabbage in there. I've got lots of hedgerows, so I quite often cut from the hedgerow. Willow in particular, they like, it's one of their favourites. Hang that in there. If I find I've got some something with last year on my turnips, I had lots of cabbage white on my turnips, so I brought those in and hung those up for the chickens to peck off the caterpillars. Some invertebrates are really good for them, and it's good to give them some variety. If you want your chickens to have like a really glossy feathers and be really healthy, if you put a dash of apple cider vinegar, just a little tiny capful in their couple of litre water jug, that helps keep their health really the same as for us. You know, if we have a little bit of apple cider vinegar every day, it really helps us stay healthy. And it's the same for the chickens. You can, for two purposes, sprinkle chili in their food. Chickens can't taste it, so they don't mind they're eating it. It deters rats because rats really don't like chili, and rodents from eating the food. Helps with that. But the other thing is it actually helps with internal parasites. It can reduce the worm burden inside. So once a month, sometimes twice a month, I'll put some chili in with their food, and that helps with that. And again, their houses dry and clean. Sitting in their own mess is not very healthy for them. Now, once a month at least, although generally every day I cast an eye over to check they're okay, I do what I call a health check on my chickens. So I start at the top with their heads. I check their comb on top of the head and their wattles to check that they're a bright, healthy colour and that there are no nicks or scratches or anything going on with those. In the winter in particular, chickens are susceptible, if it's very, very cold and they have large combs, to cracking or frostbite on their combs. There are different things you can do for that. One of them is coat them in petroleum jelly, or we call it Vaseline. I don't know if it's the same in the States. Petroleum jelly just gives them a coating and protects that a little bit. And then I check their eyes are bright. There's no watery or streaminess coming from. There's nothing dripping from their beaks. And then I listen to their breathing. Check there's no wheezing, no sneezing, nothing unusual. You shouldn't be able to hear them breathe. They should be nice and quiet as they breathe. Once I've done that, I have a quick look at their feathers, check they're in generally good condition. I have a quick look at their vent. There are two reasons for this. If there are mites in your coop and they're not using their dust bath as much as they could, and I've had this week, I've got one rooster who won't go in the dust bath, and I don't know why. The mites will be around the vent. You'll be able to see crusty, and it'll be a bit inflamed because obviously they're feeding there, and under the wings they can sometimes feed under there. For that, if they won't go into their dust bath, like this naughty boy, I tuck him under my arm and I put diatomaceous earth directly on his vent and ruffle it into the feathers and under the wings. And the diatomaceous earth will dehydrate and kill any mites that go on him for a certain amount of time. And I'll do that for a few weeks to really reduce the amount he has, like once a week for a few weeks. And then I'll really encourage him to use the dust bath. But I will probably, because I've had him now for a year, I'll probably be once a month, just keep checking and putting powder on him. What else do I check? Check their legs, and that's quite important to check that their scales are all laying smooth and flat. If they look standing out or they're prickly, it probably means they've got leg mites, which when Rooster Goose came to me, he had leg mites. I did some videos on that to show his legs, that all the scales, instead of laying smooth and overlapping, they all stuck out like pine cones. And that treatment again is petroleum jelly, really thickly spread on, because that suffocates any mites that are in there. You have to do it for, it's about 2 weeks to kill them, but I did it for 6 weeks because they lay eggs, and although you kill all the mites, the leg mites, in 2 weeks, then if you don't keep smothering them, the eggs will hatch, and then you'll just keep reigniting that issue with them. So that's a really common one. So you just got to keep an eye on that. Also, hens, they sort out the pecking order, and they will intermittently squabble and quarrel. But what you do have to watch out for is that it doesn't go too far. Sometimes if you've got a particularly boisterous hen at the top of the pecking order, she will just decide that one hen she doesn't like, and she will keep having a go at it, and they can be quite mean to each other. So you have to keep an eye out for that, and separate sometimes if they are not behaving themselves. And the other thing, chickens, when they eat their food, it sits in the crop and it moves from the crop into the gizzard. At the end of the day, sometimes if I'm doing my check, then I just have a feel to check that there's food in the crop. You can feel it, it's like a little bulge, and you can feel whether there's anything in there, and that will just give you an idea if you've got a chicken that's not very well. The first thing they stop doing is eating properly. I think that's everything on my list. I've probably forgotten things, and Kirsty will probably put in the comments. I'm just going to go and check and see if there are any more questions. Talking about water butts. I hope we don't get cold and wet again. I don't want to. Thank you, and appreciate the reminder on the chilies about to pop up the feeder. I want to keep this. Yes, birds. All birds don't mind chilies because they can't taste them. They don't have the right receptors. Bob's got his water barrels getting ready. IMO, nice to see you in. Oh, that's the clock changing, Mo. We've changed to British summertime. That's why we missed. I am so sorry about that. I'm glad you're here, though. We're through. And loving the monstera in the background. That was really tiny when we first got it. It just keeps growing and growing. It's lovely. I do like it. Okay. Goodness me, I'm nearly at the end of my time and I haven't gone on to quail, but I will cover it very, very quickly. You've got, in terms of quail, you have Chinese painted or button quail, and they are really small birds, and they're very pretty, but they have really tiny eggs. They're predominantly used in the bottom of aviaries, and I will show you a very, very quick picture of them because they are so pretty, and that's why they're getting a mention. And I hope that the picture shop is big enough for you to see. Let me Have a look. See if I can zoom in. They are so very pretty, as you can see here. But again, they are really tiny birds. They don't lay very useful eggs. But if you just had an area and you weren't particularly fussed on massive production, you could pop some quail in the bottom of an aviary with some larger. So I used to run these in the same aviary with my Japanese quail for a while. They just cleared up the crumbs and they looked really pretty and they seemed to get on, so that's what I did. The other type of quail you can get is the Japanese Corternix quail. They are larger. They're the type of eggs that you would see for sale in a supermarket or shop. I'm screen sharing while I'm talking, so sorry if I'm looking distracted. So I just want to show you the where are they? Oh, where are they gone? Quail breeds. I think that might be it. Just wanted to show you a picture of these. No, oh, that's with them on there. No, not that one. There we go. Click on there. So this is pretty much what you're going to get as your quail, something like that. That one looked quite there. That one looks more tame. So something like this. They are smaller than a pigeon, bigger than, I don't know, maybe blackbird size. They're not a big bird. They're not a big bird at all. But they lay quite big eggs for their size. They are prolific egg layers and they are flighty. And I will say they live for between 2 and 4 years, but I haven't had many make it much past 2 years, which is why I don't keep them now, because particularly the younger children will get upset. And every single time one died, it turned out it was their favourite. I couldn't tell the difference between them, but it's always, but that was my favourite. So we decided to not keep those anymore for that reason. But they are definitely a frugal option because the birds are cheaper to buy, their housing is smaller, they are prolific egg layers. They can lay many eggs a day. I had 20 because all the information said they lay 1 egg a day, and I was getting about between 60 and 80 eggs a day and couldn't keep up with them. So that was a problem. They do need a double door, so you like open a door and step in, close that door behind you and open the next door, because when they're startled they fly straight up to escape, and sometimes they fly out, and once they've flown out the chance of catching them is quite remote unless you've got a big net and some skills. So that's them. For the health, they're pretty much the same as the chickens. The grit is much smaller that you use for them. You can get a quail grit or a small bird grit, and I think that covers for people that have things like budgerigars and things like that as well. They're probably not much bigger. No, they are a bit bigger. They are a bit bigger than the budgerigars, but they're quite small birds. They need smaller grit. They obviously don't have to worry about their wattle and their comb because they don't have those. I've got an Asper chicken, but they can be quite bully. If chickens can pick on and bully one bird, I found with the quail, they are vicious and they gang up on. So it won't just be one bird picking on another one. They'll all pick off the weaker ones. You have to keep a bit more of an eye on it. And the other thing is they can, if they're not kept really clean, they can accumulate muck on their claws, their little talons, and they're very susceptible because they're not very careful running around. They can actually lose their claws they get those little dirt balls caught in things and they lose their claws. It happens the same with wild pigeons. If you ever see a bunch of wild pigeons, if you look carefully, some of them will be missing their claws. But it's obviously a point of infection for them. So you don't want that to happen. But you can buy, and it's brilliant, you go to a farm store, you buy a spray, and that will, you can disinfect cuts and things on all sorts of animals. I always keep one of those handy. I'm very quickly going to move on to ducks because we're running out of time. Just say, for small backyards, I don't recommend keeping ducks, which is why I'm covering them so quickly. But if you are really set on ducks for a backyard, smaller varieties, and the ones I'd recommend would be call ducks, the silver appleyard miniatures, and the khaki Campbells. Khaki Campbells in particular are really good layers for duck eggs. What you have to bear in mind for ducks is that they need a clean supply of water in form of a pond, something they can bathe in, swim on, etc. And they are flighted birds, so you may need to think about either an enclosed area or wing clipping, which is where you clip the flight feathers, so the first 2 or 3 feathers on one side. I did have somebody that wondered why the ducks flew away. They clipped the wings on both sides, and that leveled them out, and they were still able to fly away. I think that's it. And then again, the same as per chickens, they're just keeping a general check on their health. I'm going to pop back to comments. I want Indian runners just to see them run around. Might be on my list. Debs can definitely recommend call ducks. There you go. Some recommends. Is the last chance questions. Got to name one Wurzel and one Aunt Sally or Jethro. Oh, Jethro and Denzel Pemberley. I've named things Denzel before. Yes, I said about kids being sad, and me too. I'm a big softie too. Yeah. The thing about keeping animals is they're always at some point going to die, and I know that's a bit defeatist, but if you have livestock, you're also going to have dead stock. But we know that when we get pets, we get a pet dog or a pet cat, eventually they are going to get old and die, and it's sad, but it's something you do need to think about. Probably go for something more long-lived, like a robust chicken. Pekin Bantam. You get 10 years out of a Pekin Bantam if you look after them really well. Yeah. Okay. Right. Yes, lots of life and death on farm, Dad always said. There is more happy with it than there is. Oh, let's sit that down. There is more happy with it than there is sad. There is more life. But yeah, it's something you have to think about. Okay, I finally got to the end of my topics. I'm going to do 2 more things before I go. The first thing is I am going to just replay the little bit of video of where I was
We've had
yesterday.
a bit of a road trip. We're in Somerset, and these are my 2 little piglets that I've just bought. Now the boy at the back, the larger one, is going to be a breeding boar, and the one at the front is going to be sausages. So we should get those loaded up in a minute.
So just pop those up again, because I know a few people missed that at the beginning. And I just want to say, hello, David. Nice to see you in. We are about to go in a minute, and I'm really sorry. That's my fault, because Jay is phenomenal. And she did tell me to remind everybody the clocks were changing, and we'll be closing up. And the last thing that I was going to do, but I think it's probably already playing at the bottom, is to play the banner to let everybody know that next week we have Robin Gardens has agreed to join me live next week. So we will have a very special guest, and I look forward to that very, very much. She's got lots of ideas of things to talk about with her. She's really enthused because she started to see the season. I think we're all there. We're starting to see the potential in the season. We're starting to think about our seeds and what we're sowing and get sowing. So that's really exciting. So that is next week. If you haven't already, please remember to hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't. And I really, really hope that I will see you. Oh, I'm going to quickly look at comments, and then I will see you next week. So we got had a meeting last week. Thumbs up, yes please, Mo. If people hit thumbs up. And suggestion from Blah for Pig Names, Pinky and the Brain. Okay, and with that, thank you very much everybody for being here. Appreciate you very much for being here, and I will see you all next week. Have a wonderful rest of your day. If you're from the States, have a wonderful evening if you're in the UK, and I will see you next week. Take care.